In Luke chapter 18, there's a passage that to me is very significant. And it's a passage that speaks to both how do you regard yourself and how do you regard other people. One of the things that makes me very sad at some times and very angry at other times in our culture is people who publicly identify themselves as Christian. For example, if they're on Twitter and on your little Twitter bio that you have, if you're on that social media site, that people will identify themselves as Christian. They may even have a biblical verse that is listed under their bio, and yet they treat other people terribly, and especially with contempt. And Jesus says in Luke chapter 18, he tells a parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and treated other people with contempt. And I just want to say flat out, very clearly, treating anyone with contempt is not what someone who is a genuine follower of Jesus Christ does. We don't treat people with contempt. We just don't do it. And it's far more important to treat people with love, with compassion, with kindness and patience. And it's also, in terms of how we look at ourselves and how we look at others, we want to be humble and not arrogant or condescending, which so often goes with treating others with contempt. And so Jesus tells a parable about two men who go up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee trusts in himself and how righteous he is and how good he is and what a faithful man he is. He fasts twice a week and he's a tither. I mean, sounds like a great church member, right? Until he opens his mouth. Because when he prays, he stands there and says, God, I thank you that I'm not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. He calls them out. It's really embarrassing. This is how not to pray. We don't pray, I thank you, God, that I'm not as bad as other people who are worse than me. This is not what we're supposed to do. The tax collector, on his part, wouldn't even look up to heaven. He's beating his breast. So his physical posture is one of humility and contrition and shame. And all his prayer is, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I can guarantee you that's a prayer that God hears 100% of the time. And Jesus says that man is the one who went home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. Learn from this parable of Jesus. Never treat anyone with contempt. Don't look down on anyone. The only one who's in a position to look down on anyone is God himself.